Okay. There's one more bit that one should know about. There's one more bit one should know about the determination of exchange rates. So far, all we talked about was about the market determination of exchange rates. So this is the answer to the question, how are floating exchange rates determined? We also have fixed exchange rates. And the question is, how you fix the exchange rate? Let's say you're a government, and your government wants to fix the exchange rate. Can you fix it here? Sure. You're saying, if this was market determined, it would be here. Now I'm going to force it to be here. Okay. Can you fix it here? Let's call these points A, B, and C. The question is, can you fix the exchange rate at any random level? You're the government, and as one of you suggested, why not? You're the government. You can do anything you want. You come out and say, I decree that the exchange rate from now on has to be here or here. What happens? Let's think of this level. Is your currency too appreciated or depreciated? Okay. These guys don't want to sell the currency much, but these guys want to buy it a lot. Where does this difference come from? People say at this appreciated exchange rate, we want to buy a lot of Turkish liras. Why do they want to buy a lot of Turkish liras? Yes, it's cheap. So what do they do with those liras? Trade. No, this is wrong. Okay, so you're fixing it here, right? And people demand a lot of Turkish liras. They trade, right? So this is fixing your currency at a artificially depreciated level, right? Like China. Remember how we defined the exchange rate here. This is the price of lira, right? The price of lira is too cheap. The lira is too cheap, it's too depreciated. If you're fixing your exchange rate at a depreciated level, you look puzzled. Why are you puzzled? This isn't our usual definition of the exchange rate, right? This is foreign currency per lira. Okay? It has to be that so that when I draw an upward sloping curve, I call it the supply curve, right? So this is 1 over the usual exchange rate. You can fix it at a too depreciated level. Then people want a lot of your currency. The question is, where does it come from? Or you can fix it at a too appreciated level. Then people want to give you your currency and get the foreign currency. Okay? What is happening here? What is happening is at this level you're saying the market price of this currency is, say, 1. 1 lira should be 1 euro. Okay? We come out and say 1 lira should be half a euro or 1 lira should be 2 euros. Okay? If I come out and say 1 lira is 2 euros, do people want my currency a lot? No. No. Am I fixing the currency at an appreciated level or a depreciated level? Appreciated level. So it's artificially too expensive. Do people want my currency a lot? No. Or do people want to give me this currency? They think that 1 lira is worth 1 euro. That's the market price. Okay? I am saying as a central bank, as a government, I am willing to pay you 2 euros for your liras. Or do they want to give me my currency, okay, and take the euros away? They want to give you your currency and take your euros. That's this difference. This much euros has to come out of the central bank if your currency is too appreciated. Okay? And this much euros has to come into the central bank if your currency is too depreciated. We have 2 questions. One is, why would a government ever fix the exchange rate? What is the benefit of doing this? The second one is, can you keep on doing this? Let's first answer the can you keep on doing this question. If you're fixing your currency at a too appreciated level, so it's too expensive, like we did in 2000, do people want to give your central bank your currency and get foreign currency in return, or the reverse? Think of this first. Is the lira too cheap or too expensive? If it's too expensive, okay, it's too valuable for the government. The government says, I think this is valuable. Is it valuable for the people? This is a trick question. You know the market value. The market value is B. Okay? The government says, I'm willing to buy this at A. Okay? Are the people going to say, well, be my guest then. Here's your liras, give us the foreign currency. Or will they say, here's foreign currency, give us liras. Which one? It's the first one. That is, what people will say is, look, the market price of this thing should be 1, okay? But the government is willing to pay us more foreign currency than 1. So we should give it to the government and get the foreign currency. Okay? The government is saying, I am going to make our currency more valuable than its market price. How do you do that? By buying the currency. You can think of it that way too. Okay? But what are you giving in return? It's foreign currency. Now answer the question, can you do this forever? How much foreign currency does our central bank have? The only answer we need at this point is, does the central bank have unlimited foreign currency? No. So if you fixed your currency at a too appreciated level, if this is too high, what is happening? Every period, people are going to the central bank and saying, here are some Turkish liras for you, give us foreign currency. Here are some Turkish liras for you, give us foreign currency. Can this go on forever? That's the answer, okay? You can't fix your currency at a too appreciated level forever. Even because that requires, well, okay. There's only one way of doing this. We tried this in the 1970s and early 1980s, which is to say, I'm going to fix the value of the currency, and I am not going to sell you currency. Okay? You guys don't remember that time. There was a period when it was a jailable offense in this country to walk around with foreign currency in your pockets. You weren't allowed to have foreign currency. Why not? There was a foreign exchange peg. The lira was fixed. It was fixed at an appreciated level. But the central bank didn't have reserves, so they didn't want people to go to the central bank, dump the liras, and get foreign currency. So what they said was, we're not going to allow you to buy currency, and we're not going to allow a black market foreign currency market. So you just can't have foreign currency. That settles that. If you kill the market altogether, then yeah, prices aren't very important. Okay, so ask your parents, they would remember. they would have to, if they had a foreign trip, they would have their passports marked saying this person is going abroad and is therefore entitled to buy so many dollars from the central bank, and only that. All right. But you could see that that doesn't usually work well either. And that's why we're no longer doing this. The other question is, can you fix your currency at artificially depreciated levels forever? Let's think of this. What is happening? You're saying, I am willing to pay you a lot more liras than you think is correct given the market price if you give me euros. Are people going to give the central bank euros and buy liras in return then? Yes. Does the central bank have an unlimited supply of liras? We print liras, right? I mean, yes. The answer to that question is yes. We print liras. If people want to come to us and say, we want to give you euros, we want to give you dollars, we want to give you yen and get lira in return, can we keep on doing this? Sure. That is why what China is doing is doable. Okay? You can keep on pegging your exchange rate at a depreciated level. What we tried to do in 2000 isn't doable forever. You can try to do this for a while and then hope to get rid of this rather quickly. Now let's ask the other question. Well, why would you do this anyway? Why would you want to fix your exchange rate at a artificially depreciated level or an artificially appreciated level? Why would you do that? One answer is export. So, what? So tell me a bit more. What's the idea? Are you fixing it at a depreciated level or an appreciated level if exports is your goal? Okay, so if for some reason you want to export a lot, you may want to make your goods appear cheaper to foreigners. That means your currency should be depreciated. So you could say, I'm going to fix the exchange rate at a depreciated level, the low level, and I'm going to export like crazy. That's China. Right? That's what our exporters want us to do. When Turkey fixes the exchange rate, we usually fix it at appreciated levels, not depreciated levels. Why would you do that? When Turkey fixes the exchange rates, historically when we try to do this, we fixed it at appreciated levels rather than depreciated levels. Why would you do that? For borrowing, what helps is fixing itself. Okay? You fix the exchange rate. If people believe that the exchange rate indeed will be fixed, that helps if it's not going to depreciate. But I'm asking a level question now. Why would you fix at a appreciated level and not a depreciated level? In crisis times, you usually cannot fix. Okay. So we're importing more than we're exporting. This is correct. We have a trade deficit. If we fix the currency at an appreciated level, does this help or hurt? It hurts. It even makes it worse. That's why. We were a perennially high inflation country. Remember how we measure inflation? It's from the consumption basket. Does your consumption basket have goods produced in foreign countries? Yes. Even the goods that are produced in Turkey have a lot of foreign components in them. For example, oil. All goods are transported. Transportation requires oil. Production requires oil. Okay? And we import almost all of our oil. Right? So when exchange rates change, the Turkish lira price of oil, the energy prices change. That has a large impact on inflation. One thing you could do is to say, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fix the exchange rate at an appreciated level. If the exchange rate is fixed at an appreciated level, are foreign goods cheap in liras or expensive in liras? Do you agree? Do you agree? Yes. We suddenly made the foreign goods cheap. Cheap is something good for inflation, right? That is, it's good for fighting inflation. Some goods suddenly became cheaper. At least their prices aren't increasing as fast if you're slowly appreciating your currency. Okay? So we tried to use this as an inflation fighting device several times. Fix the exchange rate. Use this as an anchor to lower inflation. Okay? This could work if you do it right. But if you fix the exchange rate and then do nothing else, what happens to the real exchange rate? It appreciates like crazy, right? We fixed the exchange rate. The nominal exchange rate is fixed. We didn't do anything to slow inflation down otherwise, so inflation is still high. Okay? Foreign inflation is still low. What is happening to the real exchange rate? It's appreciating, and it's appreciating a lot. Okay? Is it moving towards its correct value or away from its correct value? Away. Is that going to self-correct at some point? Yes. How is that going to happen? Well, your central bank is going to run out of euros to sell to keep it here. And then the currency will have to drop to the market value. Okay? We call that a devaluation. That's 2001 for you. Good. So once again, what I want you to remember is the difficulty in thinking about exchange rates and open economies is remembering how the exchange rate is defined. That's about all of the difficulty. Then you have to keep in mind that there are several different forces that are in play in market determination of exchange rates. An important one is the trade deficit. Exchange rates moves, market forces move the exchange rates such that trade deficits close over time. All right? Cyclical conditions and interest rates also affect exchange rates. At times, these may move in opposite directions. You can try to fix your exchange rate. You can indeed successfully fix your exchange rate at appreciated or depreciated levels. You can do this for a while. You can do this for essentially forever. Now, one other bit that we want to talk about is policy effectiveness in open economies with floating exchange rates. Here's what we want to talk about. Let's talk of monetary policy. Let's say we want to make our economy grow faster. We are in a recessionary gap, okay, and we're going to use policy. If we are in a recessionary gap and we're going to use policy, will the central bank increase interest rates or decrease interest rates? Okay, so interest rates are decreased, investment increases, aggregate demand increases, output increases. This is your monetary policy. What do we do with fiscal policy? Do we increase government spending or decrease government spending? Government spending goes up, aggregate demand goes up, output goes up. All right? So we have a bunch of multiplier mechanisms in both of these. Okay? But essentially this is the idea. Government spending increases, aggregate demand increases, output increases, interest rates decrease, investment increases, aggregate demand increases, output increases. Now we want to ask, well, if we are in an open economy, what happens to exchange rates? When you're, yep. Your exchange rates depreciate. What happens to net exports when your exchange rates depreciate? Net exports increase. Let me write this down. So this is an increase is a depreciation of the exchange rate. Okay, the exchange depreciates. Let's think of this. When government spending goes up, okay, what happens to interest rates? The government is spending. Are they collecting more taxes? Government spending has increased. You're trying to get out of a recession. Are you also increasing taxes? What kind of a government are you? You're spending. We're doing the controlled experiments, right? You're just increasing your government spending. Are you borrowing more or not? You're borrowing more, so the interest rate increases. Okay? You could think of this in many ways. One is, this is your crowding out effect. Right? Government spending increases, government borrowing increases, interest rates increase. You could also say that government spending increases, output increases, money demand increases, interest rates increase. But when the interest rates increase, what happens to the exchange rate? Okay, shiates, but which one is it? Is it appreciates or depreciates? The exchange rate appreciates. What happens to net exports? So, in open economies with floating exchange rates, is monetary policy more effective or fiscal policy more effective? There you go. For monetary policy, the closed economy effect and the open economy effect move in the same direction. For fiscal policy, the closed economy effect and the open economy effects move in opposite directions. This makes fiscal policy less effective, monetary policy more effective. All right? Very good. Here's one more bit. In a closed economy, you're going to remember that we had established savings equal investment. Okay? Let's do that exercise again, this time for an open economy. We said savings are savings of the government plus private savings, right? And private savings are Y minus T minus C, right? This is your disposable income. This is your consumption. Government savings is T minus G, right? So we have savings equal, add these two up, savings equal, add these up, Y minus C minus G. That's equal to what? Investment plus net exports, right? Because as you may recall, Y is equal to C plus I plus G plus net exports. In a closed economy, we said this is 0, so savings equal investment. In an open economy, savings equal investment plus net exports. What's the logic here? It says, look, if you produced, okay, but you haven't eaten what you've produced, either by private consumption or by government consumption, okay, you must have either used this as investment or given your production to foreigners without taking anything in return. That's your net exports, okay? So in open economies, you can save in two ways. One is by building your capital stock, by doing investment. Okay? The other one is by lending to foreigners. Okay? It says net exports is essentially lending to foreigners. In fact, this is the increase in net foreign assets. How do I know that? Because I know the balance of payments. This is your current account surplus. That's what net exports is, right? Because in the GDP accounting, when I say net export, it's the export of goods, services, everything, right? So this net export is the current account side of my balance of payments. I know that the current account and the financial account are mirror images of each other. If I have net exports, okay, I must have taken in foreign assets of the same value. That's this. What this says is, well, you're either saving and you're using your savings yourself for investment, or you're lending to the foreigners. So they are giving you their assets. Okay? Another way of saying this is savings minus investment is equal to your net exports. This is tricky math, right? You take this investment. It's very useful because it says, look, if your domestic savings is equal to your domestic investment, you don't have to take resources from abroad. However, if you're like Turkey, you aren't saving much, but you want to invest a lot, then you have to use foreigners' resources. Okay? The question is, well, so now you understand that we're asking two questions. We're either asking, why are we saving so little? Or we're asking, why are we investing so much? Okay? Well, why are we investing so much? Because we have a low capital stock, and we think that that capital stock will be very productive in the future. So we want to invest. This is a good thing. Why are we saving too little? This says, well, your saving is the sum of private savings and government savings. You would save too little, either because the government isn't saving much, or is this saving? Right? If government spending is much larger than taxes, this is negative. This takes away from your private savings. Okay? Or because you're consuming a lot. Okay? Now, this is called the fact that your net exports would be negative and this saving would be negative, the government saving would be negative, was called twin deficits. Twin deficits. These are twins because they happen together. If your government is this saving a lot, okay, then you have to borrow from somewhere. If your domestic households aren't saving much, then you have to borrow from the rest of the world. Okay? So you have two deficits. A government budget deficit and a current account deficit. Now, are we still in this situation? Is our government running huge budget deficits? No. We're one of the countries that has the best budget situations in Europe. Okay? We still have a budget deficit. It's a small budget deficit. And that's why we've done so well in the past 8 years or so. We no longer have to worry about this. But we still have a huge current account deficit. People are used to thinking about the government budget deficit when they think of current account deficit, so they still talk about that. But the bigger problem is, what happened was we began to invest like crazy. Okay? It used to be that, we were a shitty country. There was this huge budget deficit, and nobody wanted to do investment anyway. You had to borrow from the rest of the world to cover the budget deficit. Now we have to borrow from the rest of the world to finance our investment. All right? And this is something very useful for you to know. Think about this for a day or two, and then we'll talk about it more on Wednesday. it would be here. Now I'm going to force it to be here. Okay. Can you fix it here? Let's call these points A, B, and C. The question is, can you fix the exchange rate at any random level? You're the government, and as one of you suggested, why not? You're the government. You can do anything you want. You come out and say, I decree that the exchange rate from now on has to be here or here. What happens? Let's think of this level. Is your currency too appreciated or depreciated? Okay. These guys don't want to sell the currency. If I come out and say 1 lira is 2 euros, do people want my currency a lot? No. No. Am I fixing the currency at an appreciated level or a depreciated level? Appreciated level. If it's artificially too expensive, do people want my currency a lot? No. Or do people want to give me this currency? They think that 1 lira is worth 1 euro. That's the market price. Okay? I am saying as a central bank, as a government, I am willing to pay you 2 euros for your liras. Or do they want to give me my currency, okay, and take the euros away? They want to give you your currency and take your euros. That's this difference. This much euros has to come out of the central bank if your currency is too appreciated. Okay? And this much euros has to come into the central bank if your currency is too depreciated. Exchange rate at a depreciated level. You look puzzled. Why are you puzzled? This isn't our usual definition of the exchange rate, right? This is foreign currency per lira. Okay? It has to be that so that when I draw an upward sloping curve, I call it the supply curve, right? So this is 1 over the usual exchange rate. You can fix it at a too depreciated level. Then people want a lot of your currency. The question is, where does it come from? Or you can fix it at a too appreciated level. Then people want to give you your currency and get the foreign currency. Okay? What is happening here? What is happening is at this level you're saying the market price of this currency is, say, 1. 1 lira should be 1 euro. Okay? We come out and say 1 lira should be half a euro or 1 lira should be 2 euros. Okay? Okay. There's one more bit that one should know about. There's one more bit one should know about the determination of exchange rates. So far, all we talked about was about the market determination of exchange rates. So this is the answer to the question, how are floating exchange rates determined? We also have fixed exchange rates. And the question is, how you fix the exchange rate? Let's say you're a government, and your government wants to fix the exchange rate. Can you fix it here? Sure. You're saying, you know, if this was market determined, it'd be much. But these guys want to buy it a lot. Where does this difference come from? People say at this appreciated exchange rate, we want to buy a lot of Turkish liras. Why do they want to buy a lot of Turkish liras? Yes, it's cheap. So what do they do with those liras? Trade. No, this is wrong. Bop, bop. Okay, so you're fixing it here, right? And people demand a lot of Turkish liras. They trade, right? So this is fixing your currency at a artificially depreciated level, right? Like China. Remember how we defined the exchange rate here. This is the price of lira, right? The price of lira is too cheap. The lira is too cheap, it's too depreciated. If you're fixing a